Hey guys, Palsteron here, and today let's talk about mistakes you can make with EA Ballista at League Start, and also some frequently asked questions. So this is just going to be a quickie video because I know I make long as videos. Not everybody wants to watch like 50 or 40-minute videos, right? And not everybody reads the notes. So there is some things to really look out for in EA Ballista, and as well as that, I'm going to put some frequently asked questions in there because it's really frustrating to answer YouTube comments, right? Because you answer one person's comment and like 20 people have the same question, but they don't see the other comment. So I'm just going to address some of the most frequent one in this video. But let's just get right into the things you have to look out for in terms of EA Ballista, right? I have them in here. You should definitely take a look, but I'm going to go through them and give a little bit of context. So you don't want any flat fire damage on any of your gear pieces. And what flat fire damage means is not like increased damage, right? It means flat is fire damage to attacks, right? Adds fire damage to attacks. And jewelry adds fire damage to attacks. This will break your elemental equilibrium and will mean you lose out on a lot of bonuses. On top of that, you will want either a little bit of lightning damage or a little bit of added cold damage somewhere, right? If you have a storm cloud, that's already fixed. But if you don't have it anymore, if you're already at your +2 bow, you just get it from jewelry, for example, here, like adds cold damage to attacks. Number 2, no pierce, chain, or fork, because straight up, there's not much context to it. Only the last enemy you hit actually gets a fuse stuck on them. So if you have, for example, one pierce, and there is your single target, right? It goes right through, and there's no enemy behind, and nobody gets a fuse. Then we have do not ignore your accuracy, and I know how it is. Explosive arrow kind of feels like a spell in a way. It scales like a spell, right? But the arrows themselves that put in the fuses need accuracy to function, right? So definitely try to get 100% at basically any point. If you had like 97, 98, it's not the end of the world, right? But in endgame, you really want to be at 100. Number 4 is do not use a bow. I guess I wrote here that has lower than 1.5 base attack speed. Just basically don't use a slow bow. The number one question I get, Xov, Inception, and Xov's Nurture, right? The Xov bows. So the problem is, why I get this asked so much is that PoE can't really account for your attack speed, right? You have to type in how many fuses your enemy is going to have. And that is off of your attack speed. So you can kind of say, okay, with this kind of attack speed, I'm probably going to have around about 18 fuses. But if you, for example, right, you go Xov's bow, now what's going to happen is, look at your attack speed, right? It's abysmal now, but you're still at 18 fuses. So it looks good on paper. I think in this case, it doesn't even look good on paper, but some people really like this bow. But in reality, right, now you would probably only have like, I don't know, 11, 12 fuses or something like that. So just be mindful of that. And then at the end, don't use barrage support, right? Barrage support is complete overkill. It has like a 62% less damage multiplier, which does apply to your explosion. It's absolute dog shit. Never use the support. But let's get into frequently asked questions. And the number one question that I've probably gotten the most is, why do I use Wrath instead of Malevolence? And this kind of goes into the question of why I don't scale any increased duration. So number one, why Wrath, right? Wrath basically deals the same amount of damage as Malevolence. If you look here, this is an extra 33%. It's actually even more damage, right? So that's number one answer. But then people are going to say skill effect duration. What's so bad about skill effect duration? I always talk about don't get quality from explosive arrows, stuff like that. Well, the reason is pretty simple. So this build's problem is that it has delayed damage, right? So you're asking me, why aren't you delaying your damage even more? And the answer is just quality of life, right? Sure, against bosses, having extra duration is nice, but think about how your mapping is going to go. I mean, delayed damage is already one of the biggest like complaints about this build for a reason, right? And that's why you want to keep your duration down. Now, obviously, once you're at 20 stages, it explodes anyway. So you could argue, well, I can just scale up to 2 seconds, right? Explosive arrow has a base duration of 1 second. I'm just going to get all the duration I can get. It's going to explode anyways once you reach full. And that's true, but against packs, right? In maps, you're never going to reach 20. And what's going to happen is now, instead of 1 second delay, you're going to have 2 seconds delay, and it's just going to be a disaster. It's not just going to be backtracking for loot, right? It is literally going to be, you're going to stand there and wait. So I would say, sure, if you really want to get some duration, if you know you're going to boss for a period, maybe spec into exceptional performance and then respec them afterwards. I just think that overall League Start is a lot about mapping, right? You're going to have to unlock your Atlas. So why do that to yourself? Second most frequent question I got was, why am I not using Rain of Splinters? And the reason is basically that Explosive Arrow doesn't really shotgun, right? So if you have 3 arrows, you can't hit the same target still more than once. So all that Rain of Arrows does is it gives you better clear, right? Which is nice, but you have to think about how this build works, right? You're exploding and then prolifing onto everything anyways. So a lot of the times it's just overkill. But what I will say is, if you're in very end game, there is a reason I put it into PoB here, right? It is in the PoB, it always was, and that's because you can do it later. But you're gonna lose quite a bit of single target damage, because it's not only about just losing the 30% reduced totem damage from the jewel itself, it's also replacing a jewel that might have like attack speed, fire dot multi, burning damage, life. So if you feel comfortable with your damage and everything that lacks is like clear, for example, you can definitely go for it. Now, the next question was, why am I not using Ashes of the Star and Purity of Elements? Simple answer to that is they're reworking rarity. And if you want to know how many Discord messages from angry people I would get if Ashes of the Star is now all of a sudden 30x and I put it into the budget PoB or even like the decent endgame PoB, I mean, and just saying that goes for the same people who ask me why I'm not using X boss, Uber boss drop, right? A jewel that might be like 70 exalts at league start that might save me like an extra passive point. There is a reason for that, and that's basically budget, right? You can definitely go for that, min-maxing this build, but most of those items are not going to be available until like day 4 or something. And with Ashes of the Stars, I'm just not sure how rare it is now, so I didn't want to include it. But for people who don't know, with Ashes of the Stars, this is something I did last league. I could have just included it in here, right, just to be safe. But basically with this extra reservation, you would be able in very, very end game, right? Once you get your accuracy from your gear, you can replace precision and actually put in Purity of Elements, and it does work out to Purity of Elements, and it does work out to where you're actually going to get the ailment immunity. And as we all know, ailment immunity, awesome. It also makes your gearing a little bit easier because you get auras, right? I get it. There is a reason a lot of people have been talking about freeze. Now, that's why I took Soul of the Branking. It solves your freeze, right? It also reduced the effect of chill on you. And on top of that, I have a nice little anti-shock flask here. So yeah, while it would be nice to get, it's maybe something to shoot for later. I still think like a +2 Emmy, let's go to great gear. A +2 Emmy with dot multi and like a life roll or something is still going to be really hard to beat damage-wise. But if you want that quality of life, sure, go for it. It can be super tough though to actually get an extra 1000 accuracy on your gear just to be able to replace precision. But you do you. Next question is, why no Quill Rain? And the reason is basically that we're ballistas because now we don't have to use Quill Rain, right? Quill Rain is complete overkill in terms of attack speed on a ballista build that already gets so many fuses, right? This is more for like a self-cast explosive arrow or something, but at the end of the day, you can reach 18 to 20 charges anyway, so why would you get 30% less damage from Quill Rain, right? You're also going to lose all the plus levels, the fire dot multi. It's just not worth. That being said, it is totally okay to run Quill Rain early. It does fix a lot of your attack speed problems, but then again, a reason I didn't include it is it's even harder to get than Stormcloud most of the time. So why not just get Stormcloud in the first place? And number 5, I respec and my totems are dying, help. So this is basically about people who respec at like level 40 or whatever, and their totems just keep dying. The reason for that is that you have a low-level Ballista totem support. You cannot buy Ballista totem support as a witch. You have to wait until the Fixture Fate quest, and you have to get it in the library. And in the library, just like with Lily here, Ballista totem support is going to be level 1, right? And this is going to scale the amount of health that your ballistas have. So the higher level this gem, the higher health your ballista totems will have. And as you can see here, this requires level 8. So you're in, I don't know, a level 40 zone with a level 8 ballista totem support, which means all it means is just get this at level 30, put it in your offhand and level it until you're like level 40-ish. It's going to be at like around about level 5. And at that point, you should be totally fine. But that's it for the video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, subscribe. As always, a huge shout out to my Twitch subscribers and my Patreons. I couldn't do videos like this without you. Thank you so much for the support. And yeah, just a few quickies that I wanted to get out there before the league starts. Hope everybody has a good league start. Definitely follow along on twitch.tv/Palsteron. Hang out with us. And yeah, with that being said, since I still don't have a slogan, see you next time.